I've got a confession to make.
I need to get this off my chest. As a business owner, we all make mistakes.
I've got to confess.
Hey guys, it's Charlie from Confessions of a Business Owner once again, and today I have a very special guest, Ilana Wechsler from Green Arrow Digital, who has come on to confess what I can only describe as a fantastic story. I'm really looking forward to this one today. I did get a little bit of a preview, so I know what's coming, but I really think there's many, many people that will have done similar things out there, and it's time to bring that to the open. So Ilana, how are you doing?
I'm well, thanks, Charlie. How are you?
Really well. Thank you so much for being on the show.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, I'll quickly read out some bio things here. So Ilana is CEO and founder of Green Arrow Digital, a PPC agency. She's a former data analyst, which I was saying is like the perfect career to come into the PPC world. There's a lot of data analyst type activities that go on. She has a husband and 3 lovely young children and is based in Sydney. And she also likes to, as well as doing a done-for-you service, she has her own community in which she teaches people how to do PPC, so passing on the skill sets, which I think is very, very cool.
Thank you.
So how are you doing in Sydney on this fine morning? How's business in general?
Business is good. Business is busy. As you know, you're a fellow PPC person. You know that the PPC fun just never stops.
Well, the irony is, and I look at this and I find that the people that are good at PPC are always super busy and should always have a really good amount of leads coming into their business. That if they don't, it's an integrity issue. It's a really big integrity issue.
It's true. I think there's a lot of sharks out there. So if you are good at what you do and you have good integrity and good business ethic, then it doesn't take long for word to get out. And true story, I've never actually done PPC for my own agency, so I've never had to, which is I guess a testament to hopefully what I think good work ethic and good quality service for people.
It certainly does. And I can even look back on my time in my PPC agency, even though it was many, many years ago now, we had much of the same thing. I can't remember us ever running ads in that nature. And alarmingly, I think that a good 20% of the leads that came into our business were actually other marketing agencies. And I was always curious. I was very curious about that. Do you notice the same? Do you get other marketing agencies coming to you?
Yeah, we used to go down the white labeling route for a while. So therefore other agencies white labeling us, because many full service agencies don't really want to do the PPC work. It's very fiddly work. It's hard to scale. It's hard to recruit for. So they were using us. We kind of do that less and less, actually. We found there were some issues, just lack of client communication and etc. like that. So I tend to not like to do that anymore. But yeah, like I can relate marketing agencies contacting us.
Ooh, the saga continues. It's good to know it wasn't just us.
No.
Now, I want to get into it because this is just such a good story. I got a bit excited when you mentioned it early from today. So I'm going to get straight into it. It's your time to come on and confess on the show. Do you want to take us through this story? I'm eager to hear it in detail.
All right, putting myself out there. Okay, so it needs a bit of context. So rather than going straight for the confession, I've kind of got to lead into it a little bit, in that I'm not your kind of classic story of, I wanted to open a digital agency by any means. So as you said with my bio, I did used to be a data analyst. I was for about 10 years working for lots of corporate companies. And when I had a family, basically the decision was kind of made up for me to leave my job, even though I loved it actually and had every intention to return. But family life got in the way, and corporate and family are like oil and water. They don't mix, basically. So I thought, what am I going to do? What are my skills? And my skills were very much Excel. I spent 10 years basically building Excel spreadsheets. So I thought, I might try to do that. So I started like Excel consulting, and I got some traction, and I built a website because I put an ad on Gumtree and was getting leads that way. And so I built a website called Excel Help, and lo and behold, no one came to my website. So that kind of sparked the journey of online marketing, and I tried affiliate marketing and for probably a year, I think. Failed miserably at that. So I thought, okay, scrap that. What else can I do? So I tried building content sites and monetizing via AdSense. And I actually built that up to be quite decent, and I had a team of writers and had a bunch of websites, and then of course the algorithm update happened and my business was a house of cards and came crashing down literally overnight. So I thought, what are my skill sets? My skills are data, and knowing about keyword research and AdSense, I kind of was somewhat exposed to AdWords because it's the other side of the equation. And so I thought, I'm going to do PPC work. Can't believe I didn't think of this earlier. This is my home. So I did a whole bunch of courses. I bought a stack of books that I had on my desk, and I was working through all the content. But you and I know at the end of the day, you need an account to really work on and play with. And I thought, well, what am I going to do? Like, I didn't want to do the Excel work. So I needed some kind of client account to really learn, because only through implementing do you actually learn. And everyone says to learn on your own account first, but I had nothing to promote. I had nothing. So I thought, I don't know what to do. And a dear friend of mine, who will remain nameless because to protect the integrity of him, said to me that he had a marketing agency and his PPC person had let him down. And so he was looking for someone to give that account to manage. And he gave me my first account. So I was a PPC expert without ever actually having played in a real live account that was running. So that is my confession. But I knew that I had a really strong work ethic, and I knew that I understood the concepts very well, and I wasn't completely green to online. So I thought, I just know I can make this work. And fast forward over 5 years, they are actually still a client, which is pretty amazing.
That is such a good story. There's a bit of a fake it till you make it moment there, where it's getting that first client before we were in there. But sometimes that could be what it takes in business. And I think it's a very, very cool thing.
Thank you. Yeah, look, I mean, I think that first month that I had that account, I probably spent an obscene amount of time in that account, much more than I would have to now. But I was so petrified about making a mistake, and I would cross-reference what was in the account with what was in the books, which was on the online video tutorials that I was running. So if I work out my hourly rate from the income I made from that first account, obviously it was not about that. It was about me learning. But yeah, that's really where I honed my skills.
Well, what a learning experience nonetheless. And for anyone that's not in the PPC space or has done similar things, I kind of think that marketing in general, it's kind of like riding a bike. And what I mean by that is there's only so many books you can read on riding a bike, or only so many courses you could take on riding a bike. At some point, you've got to ride a bike. It's never going to be the same. It's the experience that develops the skill. So I think that's very cool. But how did you find that first month and that learning experience? Because I can only imagine it probably put some pressure on you.
Yeah, look, absolutely. I think the difference was it was a very well-established account. So I was walking in on something that was very, like it was built already. I mean, in hindsight, it was a complete mess, and I actually ended up completely rebuilding it because it just defied what was taught to me, and I was taught the right way. So but then of course doubt kind of comes in. You think, well, but this is what the previous person did, and I just took a punt, and I just thought, no, I'm going to go with what I think, and I had legitimate, I guess, reasoning behind that thinking, and I guess I just backed myself, and with a lot of learning, and I wasn't completely blind with it, but yeah, that first month was really hard, and it was under a lot of pressure. But I mean, as I said, like I hardly charged this client anything. It was really just to recover some of my time. But I, obviously have raised my prices since then, now that I've got more experience. But yeah, it was just to learn.
Did you ever disclose to the client that it was your first account? Did they know?
Sorry, the audio just got distorted for a sec.
That's all good then. We'll just go for the question again. Yep. It's did you ever disclose that to the client? Did they ever know about it?
No, and even though they're still a client, I've never actually met them because it's still through this other agency.
Oh, wow. That is so brilliant on many, many levels. And to have them 5 years later still be performing for them, I think makes the story even better.
Yeah.
You've worked through all the learning stages and kept them on board.
And I think what was lucky was this account was in a really weird niche. So it wasn't a very expensive niche where we were dealing with high cost per clicks, like law firms or whatever, where, you know, if you make a mistake, you will be creamed. This was in an industry which I can't reveal, but it's quite obscure, and the cost per clicks were about $1, and still are. So it was kind of in an industry where there was not a heap of competition, and the implications for making a mistake weren't so great.
Good to know. Now, when you look back over this experience now, is there anything you would do differently?
Anything I would do differently? That's a good question. Probably lots. What would I do differently? You've stumped me. I know that there are lots of things I would do differently, but early on I specialised in PPC thinking that that's probably the wrong decision, but in hindsight that ended up being the right decision, and I specialised just because that's what I really love to do. And so I guess that's what I would recommend for some people. What would I say? What was the question again?
If you could go back and have this experience over again, would you do anything differently?
I'd probably hire people a lot quicker because I got busy very, very quickly. I would, I don't know. I would probably have chosen to do this a lot sooner because I wouldn't have kind of followed the bright, shiny object of going after affiliate marketing because that was all the rage then, and then SEO, which was kind of my AdSense sites. I would have probably really looked at my skill sets and thought, what's a good fit? But when you don't know what PPC is, you can't find a way, you know. Sorry.
Well, I think we've all dabbled in SEO at some point and have deep regrets about that.
Yes, it's true.
It comes with it. So looking at this experience, and you've had a moment where you've taken on account without necessarily the experience, but backed yourself well and pulled it off.
Yeah.
Anyone that's thinking about getting into PPC or perhaps starting a digital marketing agency, is this an approach you would say is worth doing, or was it way too stressful and not advisable?
I'd say it's probably not advisable, and there's a reason why lots of people say try on your own account first, and I would also agree with that. Like, I just was stumped to think of what I can experiment on, that I just thought I would love to try on my own account, but I just couldn't think of what I could do or use. So in that respect, hopefully somebody who's looking to get into PPC kind of can find a way to kind of test it with affiliate products and stuff like that. So yeah, I'd say going down that route is probably not for everyone, but I just thought I could do this, and I had, I don't know, blind faith that in my skills that I thought I could do it, but probably in hindsight, I wouldn't really recommend anyone else to do that. Hence why it's a confession, because it's something that I don't think people should do.
Ooh, I actually will agree with that in a way. I think if you can find particularly a friend or family member, maybe you know another business owner that would let you have a play, can be a really good starting point. Or your own stuff if you do have availability. It is, especially like these days, I can see how expensive PPC is getting, or those types of fields. Melting a credit card is very, very possible these days, which is just a word of caution for anyone looking to play in the space. But I want to shift it up a little bit here now. And I want to talk more about the PPC industry, because I was going through your podcast earlier this morning and listened to one of your updates. And I think there's many, many things happening. So I want to kind of get your context on a couple of things here. And the first one is, do you think the average business owner can do their own PPC these days, or do they need to hire an expert?
I do genuinely believe that they can. And in a limited capacity, yes, and in the right kind of business, yes. But as soon as you really, like a local business, for example, like a local dental practice, like I have a lot of dental clients, I do believe it's pretty vanilla. Like it's pretty much a mobile campaign. There are probably 5 to 10 keywords that will end up being profitable. And I think you could totally, with some learning, I would say definitely don't do it yourself without educating yourself somewhat. but often it is, I think you can learn it, but provided you have someone in-house, either an admin assistant or somebody who is skilled in this area to learn a couple of the strategies, I think, yeah, you can. I do believe that. And I know that because in my training community, we have people like that who have taken the time to learn. We've actually helped them. We've built the account for them with the right structure and negative keywords and match types, etc. We've showed them how to optimize it ongoing, and they're doing well.
I tend to agree on that one as well. I think there's obviously, it's not a one size fits all. Some industries need a pro and some maybe not so much so. But if you're in that category where you could possibly do it yourself, what type of time commitment does someone need to say? Is this like you need to have a couple of hours a week to put into your account? Is that enough or more?
I think a couple of hours a week is probably enough once it's humming along nicely. And that's the thing, like we know certain industries really, really well where, as I said, we will build the account for them, knowing generally what will work and what don't work. And once it is, as I said, humming along nicely, I think it's probably like an hour or two a week, showing people a handful of things of what you got to do, what you got to monitor, ongoing, and like they're not having complicated remarketing funnels. They're not going to be doing display ads. They're not going to be doing, Gmail ads and all these kind of like funky, fancy stuff that's new and released. Not going to do YouTube ads. So I think getting an agency for a lot of kind of local kind of businesses is overkill. I mean, some businesses just don't want to have anything to do with it and they're willing to pay that premium to get an agency. And there's always those businesses like that. But other people where they are on a tight budget, and AdWords is expensive. For a dental keyword, you're looking at around $10 a click. So those costs add up pretty quickly for the actual ads. I don't know. I'm a believer in why not just spend all your budget on the ads rather than the agency.
Ooh, I think there's a lot of agencies that are listening to this podcast right now, throwing kicks at the wall and hands in the air.
That's not to say like there's not a place for the agency. I'm not saying that. As I said, just for many local kind of businesses, personally, I think can be overkill.
Well, I'm a fence sitter. I see both sides of it, which I think is really interesting. But the analogy I like to use, which I think anyone who's not in the marketing industry may be helpful, is I kind of think of it like cooking, right? It's kind of like if you just need meat and 3 veg, getting a personal chef could be overkill. So if you're just that little simple thing, on the reverse, if you're trying to produce some sort of really high-end filet mignon truffle concoction with handmade pasta from Italy, or something like that, which is really, really starting to get complex, then getting that chef in can save you a lot of pain and frustration. So that's the way I kind of like to think about it. Would you agree with that?
100%. And that's my point. Like a plumber's not going to do, a complicated remarketing funnel. They're just trying to get the phone to ring for someone's leaking pipes, for example. So yeah, that's the meat and 2 veg, and getting the chef is overkill. So that's that balance that I totally agree with you. And I think it's an excellent analogy.
I always find, because I know my mum will probably listen to this episode and she'll call me and go, "What's PPC?" So I always like to include a little note for her so she can see what's happening. And thank you, Mum, for listening to the show. It's how we get our downloads and opt-in. So cheers. But I'll shift it up from here, and I think we might do one each on this one because I have an opinion on this one as well. But what is the most common mistake you see in PPC or marketing these days?
Oh man, where to start? They don't, PPC being AdWords, or you mean Facebook as well?
You can go broadly here. It can be marketing, can be any of it, but I'll let you pick your favorite.
Okay, so if I'm going to kind of cover the big picture in both, I'd say they kind of don't have a clear strategy of what they're going to do. They just want to generate leads, and let's say once they generate leads through some kind of lead magnet or free guide or something, they've got no method of converting those leads into sales. That's kind of, or just like some kind of big picture strategy of how they're going to get people into their ecosystem and to be able to generate a return on investment. That's kind of the biggest mistake I see people make. From an AdWords point of view, they they lots of mistakes. They try and do it themselves, and they don't educate themselves. And there's lots of like Google landmines that are placed, designed to make Google more money and this business spend more money. So if you are going to do it yourself, you need to educate yourself of all these little landmines that are placed around. And yeah, but I think big picture, they kind of lack a conversion strategy. What about you? What do you think?
I think that's a really good answer you've just described there. I would agree on both of them. For me, the thing I see over and over again and over, and it will continue to happen even after I say this, I think the biggest mistake people make with their marketing, in particular PPC campaigns, is they don't talk to a customer where they're at. They talk from where they are at.
Yep.
So the example I use of this is like, we as business owners know our product really, really well, but the consumers don't. So we see a lot of PPC ads where it's like they're talking really about the thing and from a level of awareness that's like way up where we are, instead of seeing where the customer is at and their customer's understanding of it. So I'll use AdWords as the example here because I think this will kind of clear up the context. I see PPC agencies put up ads where they'll talk about the specifics of like, oh, the new Gmail ad feature to get your CTR up 14%. And they'll target that towards, let's say, your dentist mates who we've been talking about earlier. And the dentist just got no idea about what CTR is or Gmail ads, and that's not in their awareness. But if the AdWords, ad had said, hey, I can get you more customers in the door, I can get more dental patients in your dental clinic, that's what they're really interested in. That might actually be the same thing, but how they're communicating it is just different levels, just way out of sync.
It's interesting. I've been guilty of that myself, actually, because being an inherently technical person, when I discovered AdWords, I got so excited because it actually blew my mind that you could do this stuff. And it's just like, was so genius. And I got so excited and I thought, oh my God, I can help so many people. It's going to be awesome. So I tried to get, grow my agency, and I fell into exactly that trap. I was like, you can do this and you get this click-through rate and this conversion rate. And I was talking another language to people. And I was like that, it didn't even, I couldn't communicate with people. So I can relate to that. And actually what I did was I went to business networking breakfasts for about a year just to learn how to communicate with business owners and talk the language and understand what actually was interesting to them and what they wanted to know. And as soon as someone said, oh, that's interesting, tell me more, I was like, okay, now I'm communicating in such a way that makes sense to them, because I was guilty of that. Another confession.
We've made two on the show here. This is great. But, what a great strategy for improving it, though. I think that's a really great way of going about it. Is like, oh, hang on, I'm going to go hang out where my audience is or where business owners are. And instead of, I suppose hiding and trying to work it behind a computer, speaking to real people and communicating at that level and seeing indicators of when people show interest, I think is a fantastic strategy for this.
It was good. And I guess what was also good was that none of the people in the room were my target audience. Like, they didn't really have much marketing budget. And that's what I loved about it, because it was actually a safe environment, because I didn't want any of them to be my clients. I wasn't trying to sell to these people. They were just kind of like my guinea pigs, And so that when I was talking to the right business, I knew what to say to people, and I could talk in a language that was relevant to them and kind of talk about find out what their ultimate goals were, etc. But yeah, no more technical talk.
Yeah, and I think that's another great way of talking about it, is you're going, we do speak another language. We really do. We just don't necessarily perceive it that way. And this is across so many niches. This isn't just marketing. Like, this is mechanics, this is dentists, this
Absolutely.
is people who do websites. There's tons of it out there where it applies.
And it applies to copywriting, actually. It's kind of, still words, just the words on the page,
Absolutely. So the next one I want to ask you, and I think you'll have your finger on the pulse more than I do in this one, is like, what do you see as the best PPC strategies of today, or what's working the most from your perspective?
Oh God, it really depends on the industry. There's a lot of noise in the industry. There's a lot of latest and greatest and newest strategies. There's Facebook Messenger and bots and all this fancy stuff. But to be honest, we still do a lot of the fundamentals, just the classic kind of lead magnet promotions with on the thank you page. We will then have some kind of offer or move people along. But in terms of the best PPC strategy, I think it really depends on the industry that you're in. I do think that in this day and age, it is very multi-platform and multi-device, and we see this all the time where we might be promoting something on Facebook that we've just kicked it off on Facebook, but then because we're doing remarketing for search on AdWords, we'll see people searching for the specific thing that we were advertising on Facebook, that was the only way that they could have found out about it. So we are literally seeing people will see an ad on Facebook, but then they're Google searching it.
So that's really interesting. The cross-platform, I've noticed in my own stuff, is becoming bigger and bigger.
It is.
The layman term of that what we're kind of referring to here is that Facebook and Google and even things like LinkedIn or SEO are working more and more together and less individually.
Absolutely. So I'm a big believer in the big picture and the holistic kind of, especially from a remarketing point of view. You've got to take a holistic approach. I mean, being the data analyst person that I am, obviously, I want to go into the minutiae of how each platform is performing. But there is a grey area where you can't really quantify which specific platform, contributed X dollars because of that cross promotion. And I think you've kind of got to look at it in a big picture sense, and how much did we put in the big picture for our online marketing, and did that contribute to the overall growth of the business? Because people behave differently online. What you do online and how I behave online are very different. So you need to factor that in for people.
Absolutely. I find I have biases. Like me personally, I don't, and I shouldn't really say this on air, but I will. It's like I don't check my email. I don't do it. Like my VA manages my email and then dictates or tells me things like that. So for me, like I have a bias not to think email is effective because I don't use it. Like it's not, I do go in there occasionally, I will say, but overall, it's not somewhere where I'm spending a lot of time. But I speak to other people. Like they're in their inbox constantly, and then they're always wanting to do more, autoresponder campaigns. They're always wanting to do more Gmail ads because they see that as where their attention is.
That's right.
Biases play a huge role in how we all behave differently online.
That's right. And I think that's why as a business, you need to cater for those differences in behavior. And as I said, we see it all the time and it's even multi-device. People might be standing at the bus stop waiting for the bus, and they're on their Facebook newsfeed scrolling through. They see something, they get to work, and then they Google search it. Because
I do that.
Right, there you go. And that happens all the time. I just think, and Google have done studies on this where mobile internet usage and mobile internet search has actually surpassed desktop. And I think that's just because, people have their phone next to them in bed. And that's the last thing they look at when they go to sleep, and the first thing they look up when they wake up in the morning. So as a business, you've got to kind of understand that big picture point of view.
Definitely. I agree with that on a big level. So on the basis of that, and when we kind of look at it from there, who are the business owners you look up to or aspire to be more like based on that?
The business owners. What do you mean?
Who are the business owners you think are doing this really, really well, the multi-device and the multi-marketing thing? I mean, is there clients of yours? Is there other businesses you watch in this space you think are doing this well?
That's a good question. I think the people who are really good at content marketing and amplifying that content, I think are really good. And there's lots of people that fall into kind of that category, like this whole concept of like create the content and people will find it, I think is a bit of a farce. Absolutely, you need to create content, but you need to amplify it through often paid traffic mechanisms. Who's a good example of that?
Do you know who's a good example? Me.
Please. Okay.
We noticed when, and this is really interesting. So for anyone listening to the podcast now, it's like for the podcast itself, every episode we publish, we also amplify with paid ads because in the beginning it was like, we're not really sure how to get this out there, but promoting on Facebook, YouTube, and I think we even do a little bit of Instagram. I have to check with the team, but we noticed a massive lift in promoting content. Like, it is a fantastic way to grow the podcast.
Yes. Where do you send the traffic to?
So we've begun putting the video uploaded into the platform. So we upload this video, like what you're on right now, will be uploaded into Facebook and YouTube. And then we promote that actual video file with a link back to the website, or if there's any downloads or something like that, we run it in that way.
I think that's a good strategy because lots of people have asked me about this, and they wanted to send the traffic to iTunes, to their actual specific podcast episode on iTunes. And I'm like, no, don't do that.
If you're on the audio right now and you can't see it, it's like I'm like cringing a little bit because there's no tracking. It scares me.
Totally. And no opportunity to remarket to these people. I mean, it's such a missed opportunity. So that's great that you're doing that.
I'm thrilled to know I'm on track.
Yeah.
I thought my PPC skills might be a little bit rusty, but I still got it maybe.
It's like riding a bike, as you say.
Oh, well, that's really awesome from there. So who are the people you learn these PPC strategies off? Is it a lot of self-discovery, or do you have mentors or people you follow in the PPC space?
Yeah, look, I am always learning with this stuff. That's the thing. Like, I think the PPC industry is changing so much that I'm by no means going to rest on my laurels and think there's nothing more left for me to learn. By no means do I do that. I was recently in traffic and conversions, actually, in San Diego, learning from like Ezra Firestone, for example. He does a lot of he does a lot of Messenger for his e-commerce stuff, Facebook Messenger stuff. Mike Rhodes, he does a lot of AdWords stuff. Heaps of people. Read a lot of blogs, a lot of experimentation that my clients fortunately give me permission to do. I say full disclosure, we are testing this. As with like a lot of the AI push that Google is doing towards sort of machine learning and artificial intelligence and smart bidding, they're willing to trust me, which I'm grateful for, to experiment. And I full disclosure, I say this is a test. We're going to give it a small amount of budget, but at the end of the day, you've got to test this stuff. So I learned from heaps of people. Yeah.
Brilliant. And big shout out to Mike Rhodes. Believe it or not, Mike's the guy who taught me AdWords many, many, many years ago.
Mike is great. Yeah.
Phenomenal human.
Yes.
I'm actually going to send him the link to this podcast after this so he can see he's still getting a plug.
Hopefully he's blushing.
You'd think. I mean, the people on this podcast are pretty high level, and for us to be, boasting about him, he'll get a kick.
Yeah, nice.
Okay. So I suppose the next thing I want to ask is there is so much to learn in this space. I know you've got a podcast, which I had to listen to this morning, which shared a whole bunch of stuff. I think we should give it a bit of a plug here. Tell people about the name of your podcast and where people can find it, because if they want to know more about PPC, I think it's a great place to start or even enhance what you already know.
Oh, thanks for that. So my podcast is called Talking Web Marketing, and it really obviously talks about PPC stuff because that's my home, but I didn't want to limit it to just PPC. So we talk about also big picture traffic strategies. You're going to be coming on as a guest as well. So you're going to talk about your fantastic traffic strategy. I just became quite obsessed with traffic as a whole. So we cover lots of sales funnels, that kind of stuff. So Talking Web Marketing.
And definitely checked it out. I listened to a great episode with Greg Kazar. I always butcher his last name. I hope that was close. But that was a really good episode I enjoyed. So for anyone looking for picking the first one, I think it's a solid start. Or if my episode's out by then of course, pick
Of course.
It'll be the best.
Yes, totally.
Okay, so if people want to learn more about you, Ilana, where can they go? Where's the best place to get more info? Is it the podcast or your website, or what's the go?
Probably the best place is my website called greenarrowdigital.com. And on there are links to the podcast. Obviously, we have our podcast episodes on our website. And that's sort of information about our agency as well as our training stuff.
Fantastic. And I'll make sure there's some links in the show notes. So if anyone does want to go and have a look through, which they should, hint, hint, then that'll all be on the episode notes and the description. But we will wrap it up for this episode. I want to say a massive thank you for coming on the show and confessing a great story of your first account and the experience that came with it. And also for sharing your insights on PPC. It's been super, super great to hear more about it. So massive thank you for being on the show. That's it from here.
My pleasure, Charlie. Thank you for having me.